Alright, welcome back to part 2, doing example 2 of graphing quadratic function. Alright, so hopefully you gave that a shot. So step 1, before we even do step 1, we have to set this quadratic function into standard form, which is y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. And currently right now, the y is not by itself, the 7x is with it. So before we go anywhere or do anything, let's move this 7x over. So to move that, I'm going to subtract 7x to both sides. On the left side, it's going to cancel. And we're left with just y is equal to 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. So step number 1, we're going to find the axis of symmetry. Alright, so the axis of symmetry, remember the equation is x is equal to negative b over 2a. Our b in this case is a negative 7. So x is equal to a negative 7 over our our a is positive 2. So 2 times a positive 2. Alright, so if you simplify that, you'll get a positive 7 over a positive 4. I purposely threw these ugly fraction in here just so you guys can have a chance to try it out with something that doesn't come out perfectly. So if you plug this into your calculator, you should have gotten something like 1.75. If you like fraction, you can keep it as a fraction. If you like decimals, you can keep it as a decimal. A decimal might be a little easier to graph, so just keep in mind when you have fraction, feel free to turn it into a decimal. Step number 2, we're going to find the vertex. So the vertex means we're just going to substitute the x into the equation. So it's up to you if you want to substitute the fraction or the decimals, but when you substitute the fraction, it has a little bit more accurate value because it's not estimating a decimal value. So I'm going to put the fraction in, substitute the fraction in for all of our x values up here. So everywhere you see an x, you're going to put down 7 over 4. So y is equal to 2 times 7 over 4 square minus 7 times 7 over 4 plus 3. And when you simplify that, put that in your calculator, you'll get a negative 3.125. So just a reminder, the vertex has the x value and the y value. This answer alone is not your vertex. Your vertex comes from the x value, which we found when we were finding this axis of symmetry, and the y value, we found it by substituting the axis of symmetry into the equation. So our x value here is 1.75, and then our y value would be negative 3.125. So that is our vertex. Step number 3, we want to find the y-intercept. Alright, so to find the y-intercept, we're going to, everywhere we see an x value in our equation, we're going to substitute that for 0. So y is equal to 2 times 0 squared minus 7 times 0 plus 3. So when you simplify that, y is equal to 3. So your y-intercept also has an x and y value, a coordinate as well too. Our x value, which is 0 because that's what we substitute in here. And then our y value will be 3, which what we got out. Alright, step number 4. After we find the y-intercept, we are going to find the x-intercept. So the x-intercept. Alright, step number 1 for finding the x-intercept is to make a box. And then make the little one down at the bottom right. We're going to put the first term, our first term is 2x. 2x. And then our last term is a 3. Next step, you're going to multiply the two coefficients, so the 2 times the 3. So 2 times 3 equals 6. And then now we're going to list all the factors as 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. And our goal is to find one of these values, add one of these values, these two factors, to get our middle term. And a middle term, which is a -7. So what two factors, when you add, will give you a -7? In this case, it is the -1 times the -6. When you add -1 plus a -6, that equals a -7. That's what you want. So I'm going to put those two values in the empty boxes. So -1x goes in the left bottom, -6x goes in the top right. Again, I'm going to draw a little box just to cover my bottom two rectangle, just so I can focus on the top two and factor that top two value. So if you look at this, let's look at the number, the coefficient, before we look at the variable. So the 2 and the -6, the only two value that they have in common is 2. So the greatest common factor they have is 2. Pull a 2 out. After that, if you look at the x, I think I made a mistake here. It's supposed to be a 2x squared, not just a 2x. 2x, the x squared, and the x, the greatest common factor between those two is a x value. After you find that, ask yourself 2x times what value will give you 2x squared? And that value would just be x. So 2x times x will give you 2x squared. 2x times what value will give you a -6x squared? And that would be a +3. Alright, after that, let's remove this and ask yourself the same question. This x up here, multiply what value will give you a -1x? And that value will be a -1. So you multiply x by -1, that should give you a -1x. And lastly, check the last two boxes. -1 times a +3. It should give you a +3 unless we made a mistake. And we did. And this +3 up here is supposed to be -3. I'm sorry. Not a +3, -3. So 2x times a -3 will give us a -6. I'm sorry. So in this case, -1 times -3 does give us a +3. And we can check. So let's factor our polynomial. So y is equal to 2 x minus 1 times x minus 3. Again, we're going to set this equal to 0. We're going to say y is equal to 0 because that's where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Our y-coordinates is 0. So we're going to say 2x equals to 0, and x minus 3 also equals to 0. I'm sorry, 2x minus 1 equals to 0. Alright, so to solve the 1 on the left, I'm going to add 1 on both sides. The ones on the left cancels, and we're left with 2x is equal to 1. I'm going to divide 2 to both sides, and that cancels. And now x is equal to 1/2. So one of our x-intercept is at 1/2. And then if we were to solve the one on the right by adding 3, that one on the left cancels, and we're left with x is equal to a positive 3. Alright, so let's go ahead and graph this. Alright, so I'm going to label the coordinates first. So the x values, I'm going to have them go up by 1s, and the y value, I'm also going to have them go up by 1s as well too. Alright, so our vertex from step number 1, we said it was 1.75. So I'm going to start here, go over to 1.75, and then go down to negative 3.12, which is right around here. So 3. Let's do that in a different color. Let's do that in red. Alright, so then step number 3, we said our y-intercept was 0, 3. So we start here at 0, and we're going to go up to 3 right here. Alright, lastly, our x-intercept, we said it was x is equal to 1/2, so which is like right here. Half is right here. And the other one was that x equals to 3. So x is equal to 3, which is right here. After that, let's just connect the graph, connect the dots, and draw a parabola. Alright, I hope this helped you to graph your quadratic function a little bit more accurate. Again, if you have any question, write them down, ask me during work time. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.